this inaugural Victory Garden Roundtable conversation. It's an honor to be with you all. My name is Rylan Engelhart, and yeah, it's great to see the boxes expanding and great to see some faces, familiar and new faces. Yeah, just want to first start by thanking Eric and Jacqueline from Health Revolution, just yeah, for all the evolutionary strands of conversations and commitments that have led to today's conversation and roundtable. And yeah, really bringing this exciting moment where we're in, where there just feels like there's a huge, huge momentum of people becoming aware that our human health and the health of the earth is one health, and that we are all waking up to that in different ways through different moments of communication, different messengers, different messages. But there really is a exciting revolution of consciousness that's happening where we're remembering that we are nature and that we are part of the earth, and what we do to the earth we do to ourselves, and what we do to ourselves, we do to the earth. And so it's awesome to be here. We have an amazing group of people gathered to communicate about different aspects of this conversation. And I'll just start again by saying, my name is Rylan Engelhart. I've been an active champion for health and wellness for the last 25 years. Started with a family business in San Francisco and then Los Angeles, a restaurant business called Cafe Gratitude that was really bridging the message of food is medicine early on the West Coast, really bringing whole foods into a restaurant setting and really creating an environment where we could offer delicious food and educate people on how that connected to our health and our wellness. That led me to speaking about sacred commerce, sustainability, our business practices as Cafe Gratitude, which led me to meet a guy by the name of Graham Sate, where that led to me having a mind-blowing moment to really understand how soil works and how plants and soil and microorganisms work together, and how they affect the water and the climate and the minerals, and how things cycle. And I was 34 years old having a big, oh my God, awakening moment of the bigger circle of life that I was a part of and I was learning. And that moment, what is regenerative agriculture? And I had been an entrepreneur selling organic food in California for many years. But this was sort of a moment that really awakened me to see a bigger opportunity and a bigger conversation. That was really regenerative agriculture. And so I've spent the last decade building a nonprofit and producing a couple of films under the name Kiss the Ground and Common Ground. And I've no longer in the day-to-day of the organization, and I continue to be an enthusiast and health advocate for regenerative agriculture and human health. And that's what brings me here today with these other fine human beings sharing their stories. So, and I'll just, before I allow people to introduce themselves, our other amazing panelists, I just want to say that, yeah, regenerative agriculture, for those that are new to the conversation, really is a process of growing food, fiber, and fuel, growing things in a way where the land gets healthier over time. The ecosystem is healing under our management as we're producing goods for human consumption and for the wildlife to thrive. The system is getting healthier year after year under our management. And so, yeah, and for those that haven't seen Kiss the Ground or Common Ground, they've been some of the most well-received communications about what is regenerative agriculture and why it's so valuable. So again, thank you so much for coming. And I would love to pass the conversation to John and just share a little bit about your story, John, and what brings you here today. And I'm excited to learn more about you as well.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for having me. My name is John Jackson. I am the executive director of Stag Vets Inc. And the founder of Comfort Farms. Stag Vets was born out of my inspiration as a United States Army Ranger who was suffering with, post-traumatic stress disorder and with traumatic brain injury, which many of veterans suffer from who've been to combat. Yeah, I served my country for 11 and a half years, and I went to combat 6 times in a span of 8 years. So I spent a lot more time, or gave a lot of myself than well, let's put it like this. Uncle Sam took a lot from me than I was willing to give, and that's the way it has been with the GWAT war. But a lot of things that I do, I speak. I'm a public speaker. I go around and I talk about, the industry, and I'm a real advocate for small family farms as being the kind of like the number one facilitator for our community's health, right? And so I really speak to that. I'm also a farm cook. I don't call myself a chef, but one of the things that I really do is try to attach our food and try to really grow really great food. I don't see one of the biggest issues I have with a lot of farmers is that they don't eat the food that they grow, right? So it's like, being able to taste food, being able to share that food. Food is communal. It was one of the things that I learned back in Afghanistan, in Iraq. We stopped fighting when we were able to bring food to the table and break bread with one another. And it took those 20-foot walls and it broke them down to 3-foot walls where we're able to see, the people on that wall. And we weren't, creating these monsters in our heads about who they are. So sitting down, having a meal, and um, finding our commonality was really, really important. Another thing I do is I travel around the world to indigenous cultures. And as an African American person, I am searching for the history of who I am. What did my ancestors do? American history starts. African American history at the point of slavery, but when I started going deep into the knowledge and trying to find information, I found out that there was really nothing that I can find on who my heritage was, except that the seeds of my culture actually told a different story. And there's one thing that happened is that the seeds don't lie, right? They paint a picture and tell a story that our American history doesn't, about who we are as African Americans. And so with that, I do a lot of historical dinners, and I'm working on a book right now that I should probably, hopefully, be done by the time I'm 50 in 2 years. I'm working on that by searching through my heritage, going to all the countries that I'm a part of, and learning a little bit more about myself.
Beautiful. Thank you, John, so much for sharing. It's wonderful to hear a bit about your story. Uh, we're going to pass it to Kelly Ryerson, also known as Glyphosate Girl.
That is me. That is a title that I never intended to have when I was little, thinking about what I would do in my life, but here I am. Thank you so much, Ryland. And I'm so happy to be with everyone here. And I think a lot of people on this call know that even when times are really, really terrible, it's just so wonderful to know that we have a solution sitting for us in the soil that really touches all aspects of our life. It's a very calming feeling, at least for me. So I am so pleased to have this opportunity to be able to share a subject that is so often left out of the medical discussions, and yet it's so vital to our future because our chemical agriculture system is slowly and silently causing this massive epidemic of chronic disease in our country. And similarly, our soil is also degrading and depleting from all of this chemical abuse. I first became interested in the agricultural system after having no interest whatsoever, actually, when I was struggling with my own health. I had an autoimmune-like condition that had no specific name, but it had rashes and fatigue and weakness and digestive issues. Just the list was so long. And so what doctors do is they try to help by giving you medication. So I was layered on 5 different really potent medications, and none of them helped at all. So after seeing more than 20 specialists and being put on all these drugs, I ended up finding my solution and going gluten-free and starting to eat organically, which I thought was a miracle. I started having my kids do the same, and I saw migraines and ADHD just melt away from my kids. So I really wanted to get to the bottom of what was behind this sudden rise in food sensitivities, specifically gluten, because I was actually pretty mad that I couldn't have gluten anymore because it's all the best food. And so I attended a conference at Columbia University. And at that conference, researchers were hypothesizing and trying to figure out what is it that is causing this huge gluten sensitivity epidemic. And they didn't know. And I went to the microphone and I said, well, are they spraying anything on our food? Like, who knows something about farming? And no one did. But then a scientist from General Mills found me and pulled me into a corner and said, yeah, the herbicide Roundup with the active ingredient glyphosate is sprayed on most of our grains in this country right before harvest. And so I said, well, does that wash off? And they said no. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it opened up this huge world where I understood that glyphosate is present on almost all of our food except for organic food. And it was really upsetting because it led me down this journalistic path. And I started writing and reporting about the hidden toxicity of our food supply, not just glyphosate, but across the board with these agricultural chemicals, and began working with scientists at various universities and policymakers and farmers. And when I started digging through the published research, I was super astounded to find that these commonly used pesticides are in fact quite verifiably connected to all of these chronic diseases that we struggle from today. Like it's actually super logical. And as Rylan was saying in the beginning, it makes sense. I mean, humans have often considered themselves as separate from nature, but in fact, the very poisons that are designed to kill other forms of life very much impact our cells as well, and our microbiome and our physiology. It just is so logical. We know that glyphosate, which is the most used pesticide in the history of the globe, and it's found in our food, our water, our air, our rain, and our fiber, is connected in peer-reviewed research to this laundry list of connections. So it's cancer, ADHD, autism, liver disease, kidney disease, autoimmunity, neurological diseases, infertility, PCOS, lower testosterone, sperm death, and it's an androgen. There's a study that came out from Dr. Shauna Swan at Mount Sinai Hospital. She found that she did a study on women in their second trimester of pregnancy, and she tested the glyphosate level in their urine. The female fetuses that were born to those women then had the distance between their anus and their vagina measured. It's called the AGD distance. What was found is that those women that had higher levels of glyphosate in their urinary content in their second trimester had their baby fetuses had an elongation or masculinization of the genitalia. That should be very, very concerning, I would think. Atrazine is the second most used herbicide in this country, one that is banned everywhere else in the world because of its endocrine disruption. It's connected with significant alteration of our hormones and penis malformation. Penis malformations are skyrocketing, and it's such an embarrassing topic that it's not really brought to the headlines, but because not many moms want to be talking about their sons in that way. So it should be no surprise that we have a fertility crisis. When infertility rates rise, nature is wielding its power. Apparently, nature agrees that our environment has become too toxic to reproduce. Sperm counts of men have dropped 50% since 1973, which once again should be a cause for major alarm. If we continue to be inundated with these toxic chemicals from our industrial farming system, the only people that are going to be able to procreate are the wealthy people who can afford IVF. Beyond glyphosate, toxic insecticides and fungicides contribute to the chronic disease epidemic, with the overuse of the azole family of fungicides now leading to a treatment-resistant fungal infection in humans. It's very common now not to be able to treat it. because of these fungicides that have been used. So what can be done about our toxic food supply? Fortunately, as I was saying, nature is ready to heal everything if we will only let it do so. And healing the soils through regenerative agriculture is the absolute foundational and fundamental piece of the recovery to our health as a nation. And that's where the Farm Bill comes in, which I wanted to talk about for a minute. The Farm Bill is a piece of legislation that comes out every 5 years. Disagreement in Congress has led to it not coming out. It was supposed to come out last year. Now it's sort of in this holding pattern of both the House and the Senate discussing what that is going to look like. So hopefully we'll have a Farm Bill. The total Farm Bill budget is $1.5 trillion, and it's divided across 12 different spending areas. 80% of that spending goes towards SNAP nutrition programs, and 8.5% goes to crop insurance. So you may have heard something about farm subsidies. They're often cited as the reason why we have such a huge problem in our food system, because we're incentivizing the wrong types of crops. Current farm policy definitely favors large industrial scale agriculture and the overproduction of commodity crops. So major commodity crops are like corn and soybeans, and they receive federal crop insurance, which buffers farms from income losses from disasters or low prices that might hit depending on what the economy is. There's so many varieties of fruits and vegetables that are ineligible for crop insurance. So it increases the risk to the farmer of growing these specialty crops. So overall, then, the Farm Bill just perpetuates the unhealthy American diet that features corn and soybeans in the form of the GMO-fed meats and the food additives, and also ethanol, which when you look at your gas pump and you see 10% ethanol, that's derived from GMO crops. So we also subsidize that. So there's one component that I have been focusing on recently of the proposed Farm Bill that's in the House right now, that's in its draft. And it's something that's called, it's this, so Farm Bill is like a super thick bill. And I don't know how many people actually read it front to back because it's that thick. But that's why it's easy for the chemical companies to slide something in and hope that it does not, there's no eyes on it. And there's a section called the Uniformity of Pesticide Labeling Requirements. And it effectively gives chemical companies a liability shield. So if someone gets sick, gets cancer or Parkinson's or what have you from chemical exposure, this would make it very, very hard to sue the chemical companies. And this all came together because the chemical company Bayer, which acquired Monsanto in 2018, has lost over 70% of their market value since they acquired Monsanto. So they're struggling to stay afloat. And so they came up with this plan, which is, I guess they are absolutely adamant that glyphosate does not cause cancer. But the lawsuits that have been underway have definitely shown otherwise. And so rather than trying to address the chemical situation, they are trying to legislate around it so that we just can't sue them for it. And then hopefully their stock price will come back up. So their plan is to strip away all state and local rights to regulate our own pesticides and then make it so that whatever the EPA says is going to be what goes for the entire country. Now, the problem with that is that, as most of us here would know, the EPA is a fully owned and bought and co-opted agency. So Bayer is very tight with them. So if Bayer says, hey, EPA, let's continue to say this doesn't cause cancer, the EPA won't put a warning on it. It'll strip the rights away from people in the states to claim that they weren't warned, and then they have a liability shield. So that's what's at play there. And it's a really concerning thing, because one of the last rights we have as citizens is our ability to sue and keep these companies in check. So that's what's happening there. I don't want to leave it on such a negative note. I do feel hopeful, as Ryland was saying, at the momentum that I'm seeing, because even just in the last 5 years, if you compare today versus 5 years ago, it was like, I know a lot of us used to feel like we were just talking to ourselves practically with all these concerns, but the information is getting out there, and it's just really awesome to have the team. And I'm so happy to be able to share this today.
Thank you so much, Kelly. That was super, super illuminating and inspiring, even with all the bad news, but empowering, really. So thank you. And I completely agree that there is a huge groundswell of energy and awareness. And I mean, I'm living in rural Texas, and my neighbors are having these conversations. And, so it feels like there is an awareness that these things are connected, and that hasn't been, public awareness, and such that, yeah, we are in a moment of transformation. So thank you for being a part of that and being a
Thank you.
powerful
You
voice
too.
and education on that topic. Beautiful. Lisa, come on up. So grateful to have you with us. Oh, you're on mute, my dear.
I just saw that. Sorry. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Um, my name is Lisa Stokey, and I live in Colorado currently. I was born and raised in Iowa, where I also raised four kids for most of their life. That sort of informed the direction of my life, if you will, as having, farming on both sides of my family, small scale and industrial. And so got to see a lot of the impacts of that. I guess I was sort of subconsciously steeped in that, which I think informed the direction that I ended up taking. And I guess I came to the issues of food and sustainability and ultimately organic through my environmental concerns and my love of the environment. And I just really simply felt like, just at least with what I could do, kind of that whole vote with your fork idea. Didn't want to contribute with my purchases to, harmful pesticides, in our land and water and so forth. And then, of course, after I had children, that evolved to me thinking more about them and their health, and then what was going in and around their bodies. So I had to drive 2 hours one way to go get food for them up to Minneapolis. And I did that for almost 20 years. And, I ended up doing kind of an introduction to my community. I just sort of woke up one day and I guess it was actually I read you might appreciate this, right? I read Woody Harrelson's book Go Further, and connected with Joe Hickey,
Joe
and it
Hickey,
was, yeah,
love
it
that
was
guy.
really, yeah, Joe and I are still friends to this day, and he really inspired me. I saw what he did on hemp just as kind of a quote regular citizen, and that's what I was. And so Joe inspired me through his work and what he's sharing his story, um, to just start this in my community. So whenever I've spoken to groups, as an example, around the country, I'll say, just remember that I'm quote, just a mom from Iowa who cared. And you don't need to have any kind of special, anything, appointment or acknowledgement even, and we can all really make a big difference by just being the difference, right? And reaching out and building community around that. So that's really how I started with my activism, if you will, was just hosting dinners for people that featured local and sustainable organic foods, and they really tasted a difference. And then they wanted to know more, and then I would introduce them to farmers and so on and so forth. And I guess that ultimately there's a lot of stories there, but I ultimately led to me being a co-founder of Food Democracy Now. And at the very outset of that, it's interesting because of where we are now, and I'm doing some of this very similar work right now. We started out with a petition asking the elected, but not yet in office, President Obama to appoint a Secretary of Agriculture with a background in sustainability. And we put together a list of people that could fulfill those roles. And our petition, went viral, and it was really successful, and was credited for getting Kathleen Merrigan to the deputy secretary position. And she was appointed the night before a meeting with Bill Sack. Mike, like, I don't know if I said it, Michael Pollan helped us to launch that, Paul Willis of Nyman Ranch. And, it just kind of grew from there. It really was just a natural grassroots progressive movement. And when all that was kind of over, the appointments made, Michael said to us, he's like, you guys are from the Midwest and you have a voice from the Midwest, and we really need that. And so we stuck around. with Food Democracy Now. And we got our first check from a farm aid signed by Willie Nelson. And from there, we started, we worked on things like Farm Bill, things that people back then really didn't think about too much, and small family farm issues, protecting small family farmers from things like Food Safety Modernization Act, things that would be overbearing for them on their farms. And we did a lot of work on GMO labeling, working with the leaders in those states in the Northeast and starting the ballot initiatives. We were kind of a ragtag group, doing that in California. And, but it really brought that issue to the forefront. And then also, pesticides. We did the first glyphosate testing of grocery store food with what became the Detox Project after that. And I don't know. I guess it was a lot of antitrust issues, and we were in a lawsuit against Monsanto challenging their patents on behalf of farmers who didn't choose to grow their crops but were being negatively impacted. And it was just kind of generally tip of the spear, political work. And then in about 2017, I shifted after I did kind of my last big campaign like that on trying to protect organic standards from hydroponics. In the standards, I shifted to working on the solutions, and I did that with Dan Kittredge, and worked on communications and development and campaigning in nutrient density research and connecting that to management practices. And so where I sit now at this juncture is that I'm seeing our opportunity right now. I feel like we're at a pivotal moment with a lot of people waking up and a lot of our leaders talking about the connection between food and gut health and the pharmaceutical industry and corporate collusion, and really returning our agencies to the people. That's really my hope and what I'm working on, and kind of intensely right now, towards that hope of returning our agencies to the people. My hope is that we can depoliticize these agencies, so that they can work on behalf of the people, and people can stop recognizing them as being owned by the person in office in the White House, and that they really belong to us, and they're here to work on behalf of us and build a better future for our future generations. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was beautiful and informative and inspiring. And yeah, I'm so grateful that you are where you are doing what you're doing right now with
Thanks,
all that.
Ron.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Awesome. Well, love to invite Eric to the stage. Also, really want to just acknowledge you for putting a lot of thought and energy and organization to make this happen. And just thank you.
Thank you, Rylan, and
Welcome,
thank you.
Eric.
Yeah, thank you, Rylan, and thank you, everybody. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Before jumping into my topic around how kind of artificial intelligence is weaving into this project, I just wanted to, thank everybody on the panelists or participants in this roundtable. It's been a long time coming. We've been kind of attempting to organize this for many months now, and I'm glad that it came together. And two, many folks, I guess, as we were kind of pushing this forward, we're somewhat skeptical of whether or not you can actually launch a movement, if it were, as it were, through kind of a virtual roundtable like this. So in the spirit of that, I'd love to back up just a little bit and ask, one, kind of frame it, is everybody on this roundtable are kind of committed to what brought us together is the National Victory Garden campaign, and the excitement around that on, not just having roundtables like this and discussing these issues, but having tangible, hands-on experiences of what exactly a regenerative economy looks like that's built from the soil up. And me and Lisa have been talking quite often. Is one way to think about this campaign is hopefully if a lot of you that are participating on this decide to grow a victory garden, there's a chance of literally awakening your senses because bionutrient food, comparatively to organically grown food, your nose will immediately understand the difference of that. But setting that stage, I just wanted to ask each one of y'all if y'all could just really briefly say, why you're really excited about this campaign and yeah, and commitments or something like that. So yeah, don't mean to put all y'all on the spot, but John, do you want to start?
Yes, I am committed to this campaign for the sole reason that it's communities like us and our extended communities, we are attached to the wider community, right? I have a farmer's market on my farm, and the community comes to the farm. They smell the farm, they see the farm, they bring their kids to the farm. They're intrinsically involved into the farm. Um, Education starts there with our food and with also the experience. And so being a part of this to help not only be a beacon in my community, but to inspire other people within my community to do the same. And we've seen a lot of that traction. So we're only, small farms can't feed the world, but if we collectively can feed our communities, then we can feed the world. And so that's my basic principle on why I'm committed to this.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Um, Lisa or Kelly?
I can go. So one of the things that I find challenging, and it's been challenging up until now, is how to educate people at large that things that maybe people that are watching this right now take for granted, but just understanding their health conditions or their state of health and how it's so directly related to what they're eating to such the phytonutrient level. And even understanding what is a phytonutrient and why would that impact. I mean, those are very nuanced, specific things. And what excites me about this campaign is it really will bring home to people what that sensation is, or even, you were just talking about what does that taste like when a food tastes like it should. That is an amazing experience. You can feel the healing that's going on with that. I mean, I started my own home garden and it's been wonderful because those strawberries taste totally different than anything you're going to buy in the store. Like, this is how it's supposed to taste. I think if people could experience that, which hopefully they will by embracing this campaign, that it really would change people's minds on agriculture and health entirely.
Thank you, Kelly. Lisa? Or Riley?
Lisa, I'll
Lisa, would
let
you
you
like
go,
to
and
go
then
Sorry.
next?
I'll follow it up.
Okay. Could you please repeat the question? I'm sorry, I had to take a call.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
you're good. I know you're busy you're a world changer, and you're in the thick of it right now. Thank you for all your work. And thank you
Thank you.
for committing. Just what excites you about this campaign and why are you a part of it? I use the example of,
Oh,
of awakening people's senses of
oh yeah.
smelling the difference between
Yeah.
bionutrient food and regular food.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah. Oh
quick.
yeah, that's an easy question. Thank you. I'm really grateful to you for putting this all together, Eric. I also just wanted to say that it's been really great getting to know you and working with you and experiencing your passion for this. And before we met, and I got involved at this amazing group, we had launched through my organization, Next Seven Project, or the organization I founded, rather, um, something called Next Seven Gardens. And we did that in 2020 when a lot of gardens were just really exploding, during lockdown, I guess, and people were really concerned about food security. And, that was just really kind of the silver lining, is that it reconnected people with food and gardens. And we sort of came into that, trying to offer people that experiential opportunity. And so our garden kit, I'll just say, is that was is geared towards teaching people about biological gardening, meaning like stimulating those biological systems with just simple rock dust, putting minerals back in the soil, inoculant and sea minerals. And we really wanted to show people that it was there's of course skill to it. I'm not trying to dismiss, amazing gardeners or farmers, but that it is something that we can all do. And also, I'll just add to that in our research, with the Bionutrient Institute, which I'm a co-founder of, we found that a lot of the organic food, as an example, this is just one example. I'm a diehard organic enthusiast for many, many years. We found that a lot of the conventional organic was lower in nutrients. And we found that where you find those foods and higher nutrient levels, and there really weren't that many in our samples, which was kind of alarming, quite frankly, was from, local farms, growing your own food and biological systems, of course, with an organic emphasis, but just really plugging in with those natural systems and stimulating secondary metabolites. I'm a little nerd that way, a little nerdy. I love talking about secondary metabolites. And, I do a lot with aromatherapy and essential oils and formulation. And that's what the secondary metabolites are, right? It's that flavor and aroma. And when our food is higher in those phytonutrients, as Kelly was giving a nod to, then yes, we have those secondary metabolites present. That communication system is already there. And it's just, this is our opportunity to really plug in with nature, with nature and earth, and just reconnect that, I think.
Thank you, Lisa. And Rylan, and then I'll squeeze in my little experience and how it relates to this nefarious thing called AI. Again, thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this as Eric said, this has been a long time coming. Many of us have been kind of in a funnel of energy to lead to this culmination of this Victory Garden campaign. But really, why I'm committed to it, I, before I founded Kiss the Ground over a decade ago, I found myself holding onto a chain link fence, praying over that this garden on Rose Ave in Venice, California, would be a Venice Victory Garden. For those that don't know the Victory Garden movement, during, I believe, the Second World War, it was a patriotic thing because a lot of men and people who were producing food were at war. And so women, children started growing food in backyards, churches, public spaces. And it said that 40% of America was being, the nutrients, fresh fruits and vegetables were being produced in, homes and backyards. And, it obviously is a powerful, powerful example and story of resilience and people taking, our food and our food sovereignty into our own hands. And I think there is a second revolution, not that we're in a world war at this moment, but that we are in a moment where we're realizing that the food that we're eating is killing us. I've been appalled by going back to the grocery store in Central Texas and seeing what people are eating. The whole center of the grocery store is literally poison. And so the fact that we can get more people excited to be in touch, literally in touch with a piece of ground, a piece of life, a piece of nature, and be cultivating food and seeing that connection and then that health of that soil leading to that health of that plant, which then leads to that sensation, taste, and touch and story and living experience of being connected to nature is profound. It is, so again, we started Kiss the Ground around a Victory Garden on Rose Ave and it was called the Venice Victory Garden. And the victory was that we could heal our planet through healing ourselves by taking food production into our own hands. And so here we are a decade and a half almost later, and there's a reinsurgence of a moment and a crystallization and a catalyzation of this inspired idea to have a second wind. And, I'm inspired to participate and contribute to the second wind. I have my Kennedy Victory Garden sign still in my garden out here in front of my house, which was, again, I just got a nod to, that where this came through, that channel of inspiration. I'm thrilled to be advocating and supporting more people to be more connected to their food source, connecting to nature, and then actually ingesting that nature and seeing that what we eat is our most intimate relationship with nature, and really has us start to be connected to that we are the earth, because what we put in our mouth and what we put on our plate is the affirmation, the declaration, and the commitment that we have to the earth, because it's what is the commitment that we have to our health. And so here we go. Hallelujah. Yep. Amen. It's my favorite ministry to remind people of this. And appreciate all those that have shown up today. Appreciate Eric and everyone else. John, Lisa, Kelly, Paul, our tech. Thank you. And Eric, give us weave in AI and how AI can actually be this intelligence for greater understanding of our relationship to nature and these solutions that are potentially possible through AI.
Yep. Again, thank you all so much. I'll try to squeeze it all in about 5 minutes so we can move on to a couple of the other components. But before I jump into my history, just talking about presently where I'm at, is I have stumbled on the, I guess, cutting edge of the Roman Catholic Church's initiative around what's called artificial intelligence and peace that was announced this last January. So I'm potentially working with, they have one arm that is focusing on kind of the global regulatory framework. They're getting all the religions around the world to kind of sign on, which they just completed the Eastern religions this past month, actually 2 months ago. And I'm working with some of the eggheads around the ethical kind of framing at the academic level. But while working with them, they talked about there's a tremendous gap in actual case studies on how to begin steering us away from this very frightful direction that we're moving in regarding an unregulated market around AI. So with that direction, pivoting that direction in mind, what it turns out that all the panelists on this roundtable and many others across the United States, and hopefully you all that want to join this movement, can begin filling that gap with a case study on basically defining the distinct characteristics between what is a machine-based intelligence and what makes us so cosmically, I'm not trying to sound woo-woo, but significant in terms of what generates what we call consciousness. Without getting too deeply into that, my journey is I was in Boone, North Carolina. I've launched several national movements, and that's deeply honored on being participating with everybody on this roundtable and potentially launching this movement. On renewable energy initiatives, we launched one of the first of 7 across the United States, and I stumbled up into coal country, jumped on board with Van Jones and his Green Jobs movement, which that basically got baked into the first 4 years of the Obama campaign. That basically led the renewable energy movement across the United States to where it is today in many ways as a catalyst. I then jumped into moving to the heart of coal country, where over about a 9-year period, we were able to build a community garden, everything from scratch, community garden, farmers market, linking veterans through entrepreneurship that were growing the food, delivering the food over to restaurants, the federally qualified health center. We developed a pilot food prescription program where we were writing food prescriptions instead of pharmaceutical prescriptions for diabetes and a variety of other diseases. And what was so significant about that with our contemporary discussions is we figured out how to address chronic illness, with the indicator being type 2 diabetes. And that's an indicator for many other systemic issues related to a variety of other diseases, um, ADHD, the list goes on. We were able to make a significant dent in what the CDC called the diabetes belt, in the heart of coal country in Mingo County, West Virginia. And anecdotally, we weren't able to establish causation, but some correlation that there was a relationship between us getting healthy food into people's guts and drastically lowering type 2 diabetes within just a small 2-year period. From there, and I guess the best way to frame that is a social determinants of health model where we're able to get like healthy food into people's guts. After leaving there, I went to my home city in Winston-Salem, of which you'll meet two beautiful women that I worked with over the past 9 years here shortly. And when I was there, I worked on one of the largest urban farms in the country and worked directly with Dan Kittredge and the Bionutrient Food Institute, and kind of filling a gap in their research. They had definitively defined a new field of research around correlating the way that we manage soils and how it relates to nutrient density of the foods. But a gap around that was what happens when that nutrient dense food hits the guts of people. So that was, at the time, my expertise was around, again, social determinants of health, getting healthy food into people's guts. But I was also working on one of the largest urban farms in the country at Cross North School and Children's Home, which so happened to be steeped in the science of trauma resiliency that relates to our neurophysiology of trauma. I had originally worked with some veterans when I was a part of the core team that got industrial hemp legalized. And in working with them, I stumbled into the Michigan studies that began correlating getting our hands in the soil or relating to farms and how it heals veterans and PTSD and across the board. So that experience led me to not only figure out what happened when that bionutrient food hits the gut, but how it affects the neurophysiology and then how it affects the brain. And that got me into the science of consciousness, such as like Stuart Hameroff's research. But the holistic model that we were developing through that, we wanted to figure out how to basically start zeroing in on causation of what was causing the reduction in type 2 diabetes. So we developed, back in the day when AI was just called algorithms, we were developing a resilient communities index that basically aggregated all the existing data. So there's reports that are being built on a variety of issues that, like the National Institute of Health, EDA, USDA, all the other agencies basically compile data. Some of this data informs the way foundations like distribute funds as well as agencies. And what we wanted to do is, since most of those reports were not accessible to the people, we developed this very innovative augmented platform that aggregates all that data so we can simultaneously, within the federally qualified health center, begin tracking and figuring out what is the actual causation and reducing type 2 diabetes. Fast forward to today with some of the innovative work with the Bionutrient Food Institute. They are beginning to use machine learning to correlate what is the way that farmers are building up soils and increasing nutrient density. So I can't really dive too deeply in it, but that gives like some direction of the way AI is beginning to, that we can begin using that as kind of a dashboard of steering ourselves away from this kind of dark direction of unregulated AI, and then leveraging it for this movement for regenerative agriculture. But yeah, hopefully that connected most of the dots. But we will be releasing with our global team, with the Living Architecture Systems group and many other groups that we're working with, a journal through the Riverside Architectural Press, which is a university press out of the University of Waterloo, one of the 25th best schools in the computer sciences around the world. It's a very, very high profile journal that's going to be exploring how the intersections between AI and regenerative agriculture can begin to chip away at chronic illness and all that kind of stuff. So basically, hopefully that fills that in, and then we can, jump over to, take action, and I can give everybody a snapshot of what's on the horizon with this campaign, including the release of the AI Ethics Journal.
Beautiful. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, you want to take us into that next conversation?
Cool. Yeah, Lisa, do you want to talk about some of the things that we can take action, beginning with your wonderful letter that you've been working
on? Sure.
Right.
Well, since we've been working on that, I've gotten a little taken away from the letter I was writing. But so I haven't gotten it out yet, but I'm happy to share about it. And I guess it just gives, I guess a hearkening to what I was saying earlier about, really giving attention to, what we're doing for the future generations. And Next Seven Project for me is all about thinking about the next 7 generations for the next 7, which is what is informing the foundation for a letter that I've been working on. And, Kelly's been kind enough to give me some feedback on that. And it's really about, I guess I keep seeing this pyramid, right? And a lot of us are familiar like with the food pyramid, and we're told like what's the most important thing, like what's the foundation of what we need to have. And of course, those are like really highly influenced by lobbyists and corporations. In my personal view, the foundation, of any nation, and it's probably going to sound like really familiar to a lot of you, but it's the health of our citizens, right? And where does the health of our citizens really come from? It comes from, it starts in the womb, it starts with our children and what we're all eating. And I think a lot of us here are probably familiar with epigenetics now. And that's the whole idea of the next 7 generations, right? And so for me, that's the foundation of what we're doing with food and agriculture and our government agencies, and a lot of the work that we are all doing that I see all beautifully weaving. There's not going to be any one individual in any sort of office that's going to fix it all for us, right? It's just never going to happen. And it wasn't really meant to be that way. And so we're that community, and so that letter just really is kind of like this point of, and I'm hoping I can share it with you all soon when I'm sort of wrapping up this project I'm working on now. But it's like this hearkening to help weave together all of those different voices and contributions to giving that foundation, or providing and supporting that foundation of health, starting with their soil and regeneration, acknowledging regeneration as a natural law of the universe and our bodies and all of that, and re-educating us all to that, and just kind of plugging back in with that. So yeah, that's what that letter is really about.
Thank you, Lisa. And then running through these things really quick, and then kicking it over to Happy Hill to describe that. Some other take action steps is we're going to be releasing. There's already a farm bill petition letter, and then Paul, I don't know whether you have the link to We Are the Gardeners Substack. But that would be one of the initial places for everybody to sign up and become a part of the movement and kind of following what we're doing.
I'll look for it, Eric, and put it in the chat. Okay.
What's that?
In fact, I said I can look for it and put it in the chat. And perhaps at this time, we can even invite all of our panelists here to enter into the chat any of the information that relates to their work and invite people to check out, for example, what Lisa's working on and take action through that.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then on that, We the Gardeners Substack, we're going to have a sign up for committing to just basically we're asking everybody to just very, very simple commit to growing a garden, and then taking your camera out and telling the story of from soil to food. What's on the horizon, and then we'll kick it over to Happy Hill really quickly, is on October 28th. Myself, Lisa, and others will be holding just a quick action plan listening session. So we're developing an action plan that's clearly articulates how we can quickly transition our cities over to regenerative agriculture. How I know we can do that is because we've done it in Winston-Salem. That'll be on October 28th at 5 p.m. We're also going to be releasing the Story of the Plate video teaser, and then have a soft launch of the interactive documentary in the coming months. And I myself, I'm going up to the University of Waterloo to begin launching our living documentary around the AI ethics project. So I'll be documenting that and sharing that on the platform. Three other things: unveiling the coalition's organizational platform. We're in the process of developing a unique co-op hybrid model with a nonprofit, so everybody can become members and actually engage in a democratic, a binding way in this process. And probably later on this week or next week, we're going to be releasing a breakdown of this roundtable that basically reflects each one of the panelists' participation and actual commitments to the campaign, what they're going to do, reaching out to friends, bringing more folks that are committing to growing gardens across the United States, and then just some basic reflections on that. But without further ado, I wanted to invite two of my close friends, Brenda Taylor and Tanya Sheffield, to share briefly their Happy Hill Open Doc project, which is going to be a fundamental part of what they're doing in Happy Hill in terms of empowering people to tell their own story with their phone. We're going to be inviting seed projects from across the country to learn from them, so other projects across the country can begin telling their own stories of the plate of growing bionutrient food. Thanks. Brenda.
Eric, just quickly, we can hear Brenda, but she does not have a camera. So
right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome, awesome.
Okay, I can start, Brenda. Hi.
Okay, great.
My name is Tanya Sheffield, and I am the founder of the Dream School, which is a digital media technology nonprofit that provides workshops for youth and adults in smartphone photography, filmmaking, photography, smartphone photography, and we recently started in cinematic drone and drone certification test preparation. And so I became a member of the Happy Hill Neighborhood Association board a couple of years ago. And to make it work for me, I got a grant to teach the current and former residents of this historic community how to use their smartphones to take photographs and record video about this historic community and use that as a tool. You know, it was my take on the open doc. And so we are now I am the president of the organization, and Brenda Taylor, who's on, is the garden manager. When I came on, that's how I met Eric, and we have a community garden that was started some years ago. And so we just had a conversation. One of my interns from film school, the University of North Carolina School of Filmmaking student, asked about starting a video blog about the garden. And so we're about to start shooting that this this week, as a matter of fact. Is that correct, Brenda?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So a little bit about Happy Hill is that it is the first designated community for formerly enslaved folks. 7 years out of slavery, Ned Lemley bought the first lot over there. And so many traumas have happened to this community from its inception. And we are currently battling gentrification, but we have some current wins. So I could tell you about all the traumas, but let's talk about some of the wins. So recently, after 20 years of no development and a big gap in the community, the city gave the Habitat for Humanity $1.6 million to build 13 houses to satisfy the Hope 6 HUD grant so that they can free up the land for a second phase of building affordable homes. And initially, Habitat got preference from the city and from the housing authority by getting the money and the land for $1, and decided that they couldn't give current and former residents that were displaced by the Hope 6 grant preference on those 13 homes that they had to build. And we fought for it, and at the time of them starting their build, only one resident was able to get in on those 13 houses. Well, we just found out in a meeting last week that the remaining 7 houses that they have to build, they are giving preference to former residents and current residents to buy these homes. So that's a win for us. They didn't want to tell us, but we found out. And a second win is the second phase of building going over there. The housing authority put out a request for proposals, and a part of that requirement, they had to partner with a community-based organization. And we actually interviewed developers and found someone that was willing to give back to the community. And so now we are considered the co-developers of this second phase of building. So they're building affordable housing, and only 8 of the homes of the 54 homes that they're building will be affordable. So 8 of 8 will be at market rate, but the remainder are for our people, for the residents. And so those are 2 wins, and I'm very excited about that. So I just wanted to share that, and Brenda can talk about the garden.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Brenda.
Oh, okay, awesome. I am the garden manager for the Happy Hill Neighborhood Garden, and I came upon this position. Somebody kidnapped me and put me in this position, but it's been a beautiful experience. About 5 or 6 years ago, I joined the neighborhood association, and at that time, there was a strong community activist, Amatala Salim, who was the president. And she found out that I'd like to grow things, so she, to make a long story short, got me to be the manager, the garden manager. Becoming the garden manager, I met Pastor Cooper, who was up at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Happy Hill Garden, and he introduced us to Eric. Eric began to talk about bionutrients and its significance and the change that it could make in soil, and the concept of from the soil to the plate. And I was very attracted to that. And that just made such good sense to me, because I thought that was a concept that could build the Happy Hill neighborhood. So many people there are struggling with diabetes and all the ills of culture and society. And I felt like if we could educate them through this garden and using the bionutrient concept, we could make a difference. So that's what we're about. Presently, we have approximately 45 beds. 10 of them are 4x10s, and the rest of them are 4x8s. And this summer, we had patrons from the community to work in the garden. They had their own beds and grew their vegetables and what have you. And this garden at this point in time is more of a teaching garden about the soil and growing bionutrient and organic food. We hope to move towards some of those things that Eric was talking about earlier, such as the veterans, working with veterans and trauma, supplying restaurants and doing things with food prescriptions, and certainly having the concept of the Victory Garden. So, and not only that, the history is so significant and the space itself is so spiritual that when you come up in this garden, you just feel a special peace. Everyone loves it. I hope if you come to Winston-Salem, you get a chance to see it and visit us. And I'm so excited about being on this group because I see being with this group, I see there's a lot of things that we can accomplish just in simple steps. So thank you for having us. And did I say everything I needed to say, Eric and Tanya?
You did great, Brenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, I wanted to ask Eric after his presentation. Now, Eric, are you going to give us a test on all of that? I'm just messing with you, Eric. I'm just cutting up with you.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, he's now my son.
Well, thank you all so much. So immediately, like if any of y'all want to follow the vlog, you'll basically be able to interact with Brenda and watch her walk through the steps of growing bionutrient fall crop before we release our garden kit video that's related to Lisa's next 7 garden kit. Yeah, Rylan, did you want to say any closing words before we move into QA?
Yeah, I'll just, I mean, yeah, I was maybe thinking closing words after Q&A, but I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's have Q&A and then I'll have some closing words. Paul,
Okay,
you're
so
going to help us.
We have Nina is going to, and I think Steve Zielinski will be on deck after Nina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nina Miller. I'm a health and wellness coach, and I'm Austin's food superhero. I'm a self-styled superhero with the costume that I put on to go educate people at food fairs and all kinds of events. So I want to talk about how to get kids excited about eating real food, because I think that's really part of the challenge. How do you get kids to want to eat beets or fennel? So I created this card game. It's called Smoothie Spree, and it's a race to make a healthy smoothie. You see some of the characters behind me. And along the way, kids learn about healthy foods, like why not sweeten your smoothie with a beet or with bee pollen or with goji berries or with fennel. I mean, these are all sweet things. Why is it just peanut butter and banana? So I want to get this card game into schools. I think in Texas or many school districts, 5th grade is health and nutrition. So I'm dying to get this deck into the hands of people in school systems and farmers markets and farms, wherever I can. I watch people on Zoom. I did focus testing of families playing the game, and what would happen is when kids finally made their smoothie, and we have all different, sorts of smoothies that require different kinds of ingredients. And at the end, the kids would say, Mommy, I want to make this smoothie. And it would be like blueberries, fennel, cinnamon, and whatever. And that's the whole idea. The kids love to experiment. They want to try something new. So that's one thing that I think could be really successful to get kids excited through games and entertainment. The next step is video games. I want to get grant money to build video games, VR worlds, where kids are like shooting up, like the kale creature is shooting the French fries and the factory chicken, where there's like, you find the secret carrot hiding and you get extra powers, because that way you can subliminally change in kids' minds who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. So there's all kinds of opportunities with actually helping kids learn doing things they'd like to do, like playing video games, board games, card games. The second thing is I'm on the School Health Advisory Council in Austin. It's a very large school district, and we advise the school board on ways to help children be healthier. So I did an extensive proposal with a seed manufacturer to bring gardens to the school system. And we had an idea of piloting in 2 or 3 schools, building out gardens. We had a whole curriculum where kids could learn about biology and history and everything, every single class through the gardens. They would be outside, they'd be working in the sunlight. And so I was so excited to bring this to the shack. And then they decided to adopt transgender rights and fentanyl as like their top health agenda for the year. But I still want to try to take this further because I'm in a position where I could have influence. I don't know if anybody has any ideas of how to help make this go to the school board and maybe Texas HHS and get gardens in every school in Austin. And then from there to try to build it out all of Texas, all of the country. I mean, I think if you're successful in the pilot program, then more schools will be willing to invest money in doing this. So just wanted to throw that out there, that I think if you get kids excited about pulling carrots out of the ground and bringing them home and making dinner with what they grew, that's how you get kids to want to try foods they wouldn't otherwise like or have access to. Thank you.
Nina, I can certainly support what you're saying about smoothies. One year, the Happy Hill Neighborhood Association had an after-school program, and the kids were able to get the food from the garden. They walked to the garden, pick the food, lettuce. I think we had some beets and what have you, and we had Village Juice with us, who had the smoothie apparatus, the ice and everything. They blended it up. It came out green, and some of the kids were like, "Ooh!" But when they tasted, they were so, and it was truly wonderful. It was so very good. So that is, smoothies are a good way to get kids into vegetables.
And to build off of what Brenda was saying, Nina, I'd like to outside of this roundtable discussion, speak with you. Yeah, based on what we did in Winston-Salem, it was called the Story of the Plate. We had kids basically interacting with soil with their hands and mixing it with compost. We call it creating chocolate cake with the fifth graders. They planted food, they grew it. Those small plants were then delivered to the citywide community garden network, one of which was the Happy Hill Gardens. Brenda grew some of that food that ended up back into some of our local restaurant participants, who were able to quickly transition the entire city within about a 3-year period to substantially changing the food supply chain. And then the waste from those restaurants went back into the school system, where we did that year round for about 4 years until COVID hit. But now that I'm in Louisville and on the border of Indiana, we're now replicating that with 3 school systems here, and we have a perfect candidate for that curriculum they were talking about. We're presently integrating garden-based STEAM curriculum with them as a part of our AI ethics project, basically equipping the kids for understanding what the complexity of living systems are, so they're never fooled into believing that these little black boxes that they're carrying around are alive one day, which they will never be. So,
well, I should
Brenda,
share my proposal with you because it was
I
very
would
extensive, and it showed how the kid could learn everything they needed to know in their entire school curriculum through working in a garden. I mean, it's an amazing idea, I think.
I would love to work with you on that. We have a school system prep for integrating it across the region. So
terrific. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Nina, so much for that. And definitely Eric and Nina, let's make sure you guys are connected. Roger, you're up next.
Hey, thanks, Ryland. Eric, as a former Louisvillian of 50 years turned Florida man over the past 3, I'm so excited to hear about what you're doing in that area. A quick background on me: I was a former regional director and state director for Team Kennedy, and since then have co-founded a a PAC called Make America Healthy Again. And our whole focus, not just on this election cycle, but in other election cycles, is focusing on candidates who support the mission and values of most of what I'm hearing on here. But I just wanted to share a quick story from this morning. My wife was just last week diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 51. And it was a tough weekend. But we had God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, has put everything in line. And it all started with Bobby Kennedy raising my awareness on what to watch for. I was so blind to all this stuff. And through that, fast forward to today and the conversations and how quickly we got in with this OBGYN who happened to be a Kennedy supporter and a volunteer for me here in Florida. She kind of sped things along in getting to today. But this oncologist today, I was asking about, turkey tail mushroom and some of the other functional mushrooms and some of the findings with tumors. And she said, no supplements. Here's what Americans need to do. No more processed food. No more toxins in your food. It's everything you all are working for and talking about right now. That's the magic. The magic is in the clean food that we put into our bodies with all those components that make up every single part of our structure and our being. So my wife turned to me and then I caught her out in the hall and she too said that this next election, it's not about the politics of it. It's about getting people in the right places that are going to make the changes at those regulatory levels, all the things that you all are working for. So, of course, she got one of the Make America Healthy Again stickers on the way out. But thank you all so much. And it's so good to see so many familiar faces like Paul and Jacqueline and some other folks on here. So thank you for having this today. I look forward to following this vigorously.
Thank you, Roger, for coming on, and thank you for sharing your story of your wife. And yeah, I saw it in the comments, but yeah, well, where there is more gathered with the prayer for healing and health, we are here and feeling into that healing process for your wife. And our prayer is also in the action of that which we're doing, which is reminding people and awakening people that food is medicine, and it's not about what we do eat. It's mostly, I mean, it's a lot of what we, at this moment, what we're not eating, eliminating the things, eliminate the poison and start expanding the medicine, which is both available in food. And yeah, I just want to acknowledge Jacqueline. I just see your face here. This wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't be all together if it wasn't for you and your lion-hearted, courageous gumption, go get it, by any means necessary, working your heart, just putting it all on the line continuously for, the work you did with Kennedy and volunteer teams, the Kennedy Victory Garden, continuing to be in touch and pollinate and weave and bring people together. And really, through the trust of your love and your heart and your conviction, allowed us to have the confidence that this was something to support and to get behind and to rally and put our energy in when there's so many places for our energy to be given. So I just want to acknowledge you. And, as far as closing words for this, this conversation, the National Victory Garden inaugural roundtable, really, it's like, there is nothing more powerful than the human soul putting their heart and their conviction and their love into something. Because, when we're being where we are, love is, and taking action in that love, that translates, that communicates, mountains and momentous energy. And so, your commitment, conviction, Jacqueline has us be here today. And really, that's the message of this time. And that's the message of this roundtable, is that we are all, we are powerful beings. And when we put our heart and our full presence where we are to do something that makes a difference for others and for the earth, miracles happens and mountains move. And that is a testament to this moment. That is a testament to Jacqueline. And I can just say that, all the people here and what they're doing started with a small committed action, based on the whisper on their heart of this is the right thing to do. And that has created, remarkable transformation, and will continue to do so. And so, may it be the mustard seed of this moment, and whatever conversation, whatever word touches your heart, continue to seed those seeds in the victory gardens and the hearts and minds of those that you come in contact with, such that we can continue to propagate this beautiful optimism and this love and regeneration of human spirits and health and Mother Earth. So I'll close it there and say thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, brother from John from Comfort Farms. Thank you, everybody. So thank you, and I'll let you, Eric. Any closing.
Yeah.
Or Jacqueline. Actually, sorry,
yeah,
I'm revoking from you, Eric.
Jacqueline.
Not you. Eric, Jacqueline's the dog now.
Yeah. Jacqueline, we love you so much. Thank you so much. I heed the stage to Jacqueline if she has some things to say. It's been a long time coming.
Oh my God. I don't know how to end on that one. Thank you so much. This has been a long time coming, and I'm just so thrilled for everyone here and for this moment. I wanted to actually say we're going to be having creating a recipe blog and hopefully a recipe book for our our victory gardens in general. So everybody start digging through your recipes that you are going to create or have created from your gardens in the past, and put them together, and we'll start getting a submission form on that. And we can have some videos, video of your recipes. I love to cook, so I'd love to take on some of your recipes also. But thank you so much for this moment and for these moments going forward. This is incredible. To Nina, I wanted to also make sure that maybe you might want to look into some of the hospital programs, the endocrinology, children, pediatric programs on that. They may be interested in them. I do know one in New Jersey that has an inpatient specialized children's hospital, has an inpatient program for chronically ill kids. They have a cooking program there inpatient with them. My kids were patients there. Most of the kids have diabetes there, so I will definitely link that information to you. And that I love your ideas, and we need more ideas. Let's have fun and grow and play games. So thank you all.
Cool. And Jacqueline, thank you so much. Real quickly, everybody just stay tuned. If you will, sign up on the We the Gardeners Substack platform. We'll be releasing some follow-up stuff and action steps to be taken. And also, I wanted to highlight that a lot of participants that are on the call, in order to get what I believe to get our nation to begin having productive dialogues around creating a healthier country, we have to really actively break down these partisan divides between all of us. Many of my friends that are on here are, Democrats, independents, Republicans, and this is a bipartisan platform for basically bringing us together around health, in the same way that when I was an environmentalist in the heart of coal country, what led to successes there is I put my environmentalism aside, and we all started working towards health, which translated to radically transforming that region. So thanks everybody for being on here. And Rylan, any last things? Love you,
The
Jacqueline.
last thing I'm thinking is Ashley has her hand up. I didn't want to close out the call with somebody with their hand up. Ashley, we'd love to hear from you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Hello. Awesome. So this is awesome. Thank you, Jacqueline, and everybody who's put this together. I'm so excited. I just want to do a quick plug. So I'm actually driving to Michigan, or I'm in Michigan from Massachusetts to attend the Food Babes petition to Kellogg's. Which will be held tomorrow. So everybody who's on the call, if you haven't yet, sign the petition on foodbabe.com. Please do it, because we're asking them to take out the BHT and the food additive artificial dyes in their cereals. And just quickly, I did drive through Canada and I picked up a box of Fruit Loops, and it truly is different than our American Fruit Loops. And it's insane, just over the board how different things are. So I just wanted to do that little plug, and you guys are all amazing, and I can't wait to further work with all of you.
I'm going to put the link to that letter. I'm going to put the link to that letter right in the chat now, guys.
Yeah. And yeah, for those that don't know, yeah, there's been a huge momentum to push Kellogg's to get the dyes and chemicals that are only in US-based versions of Fruit Loops. And there's been a bunch of podcasts and a bunch of influencers. It really is something that's probably going to get moved over the finish line of making some change. So if everybody can sign that, it's a big win for all of us. So awesome. Thanks, Ashley, for bringing that in. And thanks, Eric, for putting this together, Jacqueline, everybody. Yeah, let's grow more healthy together, and appreciate everyone's time and energy and attention. And we'll be in touch with, the next conversation. Thank you.